Beerzerker! It's Hoegaarden Alright, so we got this apparently everyone pronounces it Hoegaarden but me. Hoegaarden or whatever. Hoegaarden. It says Hoegaarden. Z-double-A. Hoegaarden. You know what I'm saying? Alright, so this may be a little bit expired. It was, if I'm reading this best before date, it's supposed to be opened in the 27th day of the 6th month of... Oh, no, I'm not. I'm fine. I'm fine. Unless it's from 06, I'm fine. Alright. 2015, not 14, jackass. Tons of smoke here. So I've had this beer a time or two. It is brewed in Belgium by INBEV. It doesn't say AB INBEV, it just says INBEV. But there's a lot of Belsh on the label, so I'm not sure what's Quebecer and what's Belsh and what's English. So 4.9% alcohol by volume, and this is ale brewed with coriander and orange peel. So the ingredients are water, barley malt, wheat, hops, coriander, dried orange peel, sugar, and yeast. So it's slightly fortified at 4.9%. I find that a bit odd, but Belgian beers apparently, what is it, candy sugar they like to use, so they're always a little bit jacked. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like throwing honey in your beer or whatever, right? And yeah, you are definitely smelling and tasting major orange peel in this for sure. And the coriander, it's unfiltered, says so on the label, and obviously a white beer you can't see through. That's pretty impressive. As for a headshot, yeah, that's a nice head on this beer. And yeah, I got a little bit spilly. Yeah, so you're getting a little bit of lemony, kind of a wheat characteristics out of it. Blending together quite nicely. The wheat and the barley. It is bottle conditioned. Well, I do really enjoy this beer. I mean, it is for an orange peel coriander beer, and I'm not a spice person, you know, when it comes to beer. But seriously, this is a great beer. And AB InBev is brewing it now, apparently, and it's still a great beer. Remarkable finish. Like the carbonation kind of comes alive in the finish. But it's not a harsh carbonation. It's kind of like soft bubbles, you know. And so it still gives you a little slight bit of that Coca-Cola burn on the way down, but nothing too major. And a great wheat beer kind of finish. And I noticed the wheat a lot more in here than the barley. Like, if you were to drink this like a blind taste test, you would probably think it was a wheat beer, like exclusively. I mean, but the barley, unless you're like really good at picking that stuff out. Yeah, I'd say it's a Belgian wheat beer. But yeah, this is a fine product. So they have a best before date. It tells you how cold to serve it at 4 degrees Celsius. It recommends putting the yeast in with it, which I don't usually do. It's 330 milliliter bottle, and here are the prices. This depends on your store, but it's not too outrageous as for what I remember. And I imagine most of us have tried this beer before. It's very drinkable, like most wheat beers. They're very consumable. They're not intrusive. They go down really easy. They're nice and smooth. Nice watery texture to them. And the orange peel and the coriander is just, it's not like overdone like in some pumpkin beers or whatever. It's just kind of there's enough there that you're tasting it all the time, but it's not a flavor that's really gonna bother you. You know what I mean? And like I typically don't like a lot of spice in my beers. I'm starting to come around to pumpkin beers a little bit more as I'm trying them. I'm getting a little more acquired to them and a little more acquired to spice. Like I did the Game of Thrones Fire and Blood by what's that brewery there? Can't remember the name of the brewery. It's called Fire and Blood Red Ale. So it's a Belgian beer, but they put chilies in it, like chili peppers, and you hardly notice over the spiciness of the Belgian yeast anyway. But it's just, it was a pretty well, if you do it right, it's good, So you can't always be negative on spice because some people can fucking do amazing shit with spices. You know what I'm saying? And some people can just fucking destroy whatever they're dealing with. Yeah. Great finish. It's so smooth and watery, and it's like, to me, that's what I'm getting most the biggest vibe I'm getting out of this beer is just, wow, it's so soft. It's like soft water. It's watery and it's light. It's smooth. It's just, it goes down easy, but like, mouthfeel wise, and there's a little bit of a CO2 explosion on the way down, and it's pretty cool. The head is very fine bubbles. Like, high quality beer generally has finer bubbles. It's just a prejudice I go by. It's just something that I've noticed. Like, shitty beers don't generally have a head like this. Like, this is like if you zoom in on how fine those bubbles are, or whatever. See if I can get a good shot there. I mean, they're just minuscule. They're just, it's almost like it's like foam. I would call it foam. I wouldn't call it bubbles. It's a froth. That's what it is. It's a scum or scummy froth. Scummy frothy. Which makes for a creamier finish in your beer. And then carries along the spices and the hops in this. Which hops are pretty minimal, but you are getting kind of a tangy, planty hop, but not tangy in a bad way, tangy in a good way. Which is probably, maybe that's just the orange I'm getting more than the hops, quite possibly. But I think orange peel in a beer with wheat is a great thing. That's maybe why it's coming off so citrusy, and I'm kind of not noticing any barleys because wheat tends to give a citrus edge to the beer, and then you throw orange in, which is a citrus fruit. So you're getting like a little extra citrus in the end. I think it's a fabulous product. You have to taste it to really, get the experience. I don't think anybody can really describe Hoegaarden completely to you. You have to, if you haven't tried this beer, you have to try this beer. And I've seen the bottles at the depot before I tried it, and I was like, oh, because before the beer explosion was fully in bloom, we'll say, this was kind of like an entry level drug, so people were drinking it in my neighborhood because I see it at the depot, these bottles, and I was just curious about it, and I seen it, and I thought, well, $14 for 6-pack to me back then was expensive. But now almost any beer, like even Budweiser's at $14 for 6. I think Labatt Blue is like $7,000 for 6 or something. Oh no, it's $27 for what is it? 12? Something like that. Yeah, I don't know. It's expensive shit though. And this is like you're getting about 50 times the beer, really. I mean, this if you compare this to these other mainstream domestic pale lagers, I mean, the finish in this beer is excellent, okay? The finish in those other beers is horrible. So don't be scared to try this one at all. Some people might not like it. I don't see how anyone could not like this actually because it's so mild and so unintrusive and so pleasant, and I adore this beer, really, I guess is what I'm getting at, and I think deserves a pretty decent rate, especially for mass produced beer. This is one of my favorite beers from Belgium, actually, and that I've tried so far. And like the other ones are pretty good. They're pretty rugged. Just depends what you're after. Like if you're in the mood for a real raw, rugged beer, you might want to get an actual authentic Belgian, like Duvel and that. That's pretty rugged shit. It just depends what you want. And I think that this is a great beer and deserves a pretty decent rate, especially for, you know, for being so fucking smooth. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. It's at least a 9 out of 11 for me. No problem. I'm gonna 9.5 it because I think it's just one of the most enjoyable beers out there, really. Especially, and it's widely available. I mean, if you're on planet Earth, you should be able to find this in your liquor store. I mean, imagine you could probably go to Sao Paulo, Brazil, and find this in the fucking liquor store. So, or you could go to fucking Lagos, Nigeria. They might have this beer in the liquor store. So, yeah, definitely seek this out. Definitely try it. If you haven't tried it, if you've tried it, you know exactly what I'm saying. I'm gonna give it 9.5 for myself. It's one of the most pleasant beers you could drink, absolutely, and one of the most pleasant wheat beers for sure. So, Beerzerker, I'm out, yeah.